Welcome to Inglit Mirror. Today we discuss Puritanism. Let's move. Puritanism was a religious movement that began in England in the 1500s and 1600s and spread to America. After the Reformation, some extreme Protestants were not satisfied with changes brought about during the reigns of King Henry VIII, Edward VI, and Queen Elizabeth. They were called Puritans by other Protestants because of their proposals to purify the Church. The age of Puritanism may be roughly defined as the century following the Reformation. It extended from the reign of Queen Elizabeth to 1660. The Puritans patterned their lives on the teachings of the religious reformers John Wycliffe and John Calvin. They believed that the Bible represented the true law of God, and they wished to shape their lives and the church on the ideals represented in the Bible. They were against episcopacy or the rule of the bishops. Instead, they wanted the church to be managed by a group of presbyters or elders. They were against rituals and wanted a more personal form of prayer. The Puritans were strict disciplinarians who stressed on grace, devotion, prayer, and self examination. Austerity was the keynote of their lives. They disliked ornaments and grand dresses. As early as the 1520s, English Protestant leaders demanded reforms that were later to be called Puritan. The Bible was translated into English by William Tyndale about that time. Later, Latimer also raised protests to purify the church. They influenced people to believe that the Bible governed all human affairs. The Puritans, accepting Calvin's teachings, challenged Elizabeth's religious settlement and were highly critical of her church. They were resentful of the Tudor doctrine that every member of the state was automatically a member of the state church. They hated to see the church being reduced to a political body. The church, to them, was an independent body of believers with no earthly head. God was the supreme power and Christ was his mediator. They disliked the elements of compromise in Elizabeth's church. The Puritans found a leader in Thomas Cartwright. He gave the Puritans a battle cry: the bishops must be unloaded. Other Puritan leaders were Robert Brown and Henry Barrow. Elizabeth was highly irritated by the Puritans. She described the new ideas as newfangledness and appointed Grindal as the Archbishop of Canterbury to control the Puritans. He refused to comply with the queen, so he was replaced by John Whitgift. Whitgift, who hated the Puritans, forced the clergy to accept the Anglican Church. All those who did not were suspended. Puritan leaders were imprisoned and a few were executed. During the 1600s, the Puritans increasingly opposed the political and religious policies of the Stuart rulers. James I was presented with a millenary petition which was supposed to have been signed by 1,000 clergymen. They wanted Puritan practices to be tolerated. James called the Hampton Court Conference to settle disagreements within the church. James, who was afraid of the spread of Puritanism in England, refused to bring about the reforms the Puritans sought. Many disillusioned Puritans fled to Holland and from there sailed to the New World in a ship called the Mayflower. They were known as the Pilgrim Fathers. Thus, during the Stuart era, Puritanism spread to America. Charles I became the king after his father. He was very unpopular with the Puritans due to his marriage with a Roman Catholic. His partiality to Anglican churchmen and the fact that the anti-Catholic laws were not enforced, whereas the anti-Puritan ones were strictly enforced, made the Puritans dislike Charles. He became even more unpopular after he made William Laud the Archbishop of Canterbury. Laud put down the Puritans with a firm hand. Thousands of Puritans immigrated to America to escape his tyranny. Meanwhile, the king was having several problems with the parliament regarding finance and religion. John Pym was the leader of the Commons. By 1641, the situation became very dangerous with the king and the Cavaliers on one side and Pym and the Puritans on the other. In 1642, civil war finally broke out. During the course of the war, Oliver Cromwell, a Puritan, rose to eminence. With the new model army, the parliamentary forces won a complete victory in 1646. The Puritans took control of the government in 1649. Cromwell became the head of the state, and his rule rested on the army. Although he personally believed in religious toleration, the Puritans did not. The Parliament, which consisted primarily of Puritans, proposed to abolish toleration. So Cromwell dissolved the Parliament and proceeded to rule England with the help of the army. The Long Parliament had already closed the theatres. Various laws relating to conduct and morality were passed, and officials called major generals were appointed to enforce them strictly. Dueling, cockfighting, horse racing, and bear baiting were banned, and the Sabbath was observed strictly. There were incidents of soldiers entering houses in order to check whether there was any food cooked on Sundays. Those who broke the rules were punished or fined. Individual liberty and the right of free speech were threatened to a great degree under the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth maintained good order and succeeded in suppressing some amusements of a highly undesirable character. They were known for their integrity and uprightness. Their contribution to English literature was abundant. Paradise Lost, the greatest epic in English, was written by John Milton, a true Puritan. The greatest prose work of the period was The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, who derived his inspiration from a constant reading of the Bible. In spite of the above advantages, the Puritan Revolution failed. After the death of Oliver Cromwell, the people preferred to go back to the old ways. There could be three reasons for the disillusionment of the people. First, the people were tired of Puritan discipline, which attempted to make people good by force. Secondly, they resented the military dictatorship. And finally, they were tired of revolutions and wished to return to the good old times. Political aspects of Puritanism lived on in the policies of the Whig Party in England. The religious ideas of Puritanism were revived by the Methodists in the 18th century. Thank you for watching this video.